Genocide in Bosnia. Nazi survivors see specter of Holocaust in Bosnia's camps. Mary Ann Lichtig, Des Moines Register staff writer. August 23, 1992. A bony man with a shaved head and sunken eyes stares from the front page of a newspaper, and David Fischel can't look. More eyes flash on the television screen, and Morris and Sally Wolf have to change the channel. When we watch this, Sally Wolf explains, I can see my brothers. Linda Fishman makes herself watch. I just kind of harden up, she says. I psych myself up and say, you are not going to cry, you know? You have to watch it and see what's going on. A U.S. report estimates that 35,000 people have died in Bosnia, most of them in forced evacuations of Muslim villages. The Associated Press says two Senate Foreign Relations Committee investigators spent a week in the former Yugoslavia and wrote the report. They found evidence of organized killings, rapes, beatings, and starvation in the detention camps run by Serbs. They heard about a camp in Bracko where most of the estimated 1,000 captives were executed over a period of weeks. They listened to a 55-year-old woman describe a makeshift camp in the Ternpolji school where guards killed a woman for no reason on the steps of the school. She was going outside to get water for her children. Footage of such things reminds the Wolf's son Abe of Holocaust documentaries. To see it in color in the news, it's like someone went in and took scenes from World War II and colorized them. The scenes throw Holocaust survivors into emotional turmoil. They see the world condemning Serbian persecutors, but when it was the Jewish people suffering in World War II, they say, the world did nothing. The world let us die, says one. And while Holocaust survivors empathize with the Bosnian Muslims, they remember that Bosnian Muslims collaborated with the Nazis. They suffered at the hands of Bosnian Muslims. So some survivors have difficulty feeling for them now, says Fischel, who lives in Windsor Heights, a suburb of Des Moines, Iowa. He understands he was imprisoned in 6 camps. One of the men dangling outside his window at Billhammer was the father of one of his best friends. I understand that they are hurt, he says. I am hurt too. But we have to put a stop to hurt, you see. We have to start somewhere. All survivors interviewed agreed. I would like them to have food, says Fishman, who was about 13 when Germans invaded Solduek, Poland, the town where she lived. Her entire family, 4 older sisters, 2 younger brothers, and her parents died in the war. Now she is 65 and lives in Windsor Heights. There is nothing worse than starvation. That's why I say we have to feed these people, she says. But she doesn't think the U.S. military should get involved. To me, it looks like another Vietnam. A Windsor Heights man says the world should pull out all stops. We have to do anything. We send in troops because of oil, and here people are dying, says the man, who asked not to be named. I try to live a normal life, he explains. He spent 3 years in a Lithuanian ghetto and months at the Dachau concentration camp. But some of his friends and co-workers didn't know. Treatment of Bosnian Muslims is unconscionable, he says, and because they are European, the world is in an uproar. How about in Africa? And what about the My Lai massacre, he says. Our boys did the same things, run in villages and kill people. For what? Jacob Weisman, a 72-year-old Des Moines man who was in prison for all of World War II, says something has to be done to save humanity. To say these people are scared for life is an understatement. Fischel still wakes up sweating and screaming and crying. He is 63 years old now. He has 2 grown daughters and 4 grandchildren, but he can still hear his mother screaming as the soldiers ripped him from her arms. It was the last time he saw her. Physically, too, he is scarred. His prisoner number, 184570, was tattooed on his left arm at Bellhammer, a subsidiary of Auschwitz. He used to wish he could make it go away. Now he says, I just don't pay attention to it. Wasman has a bump on his head where he says Joseph Mengele, the infamous Nazi doctor, hit him with a rifle because he didn't want to leave his mother. He has a bullet in his left leg and a white scar where another bullet hit his right leg. He was shot on a march from Hirschberg to Buchenwald because he wasn't walking fast enough. He has nightmares too. His mother's last words to him when he was forced from her arms were, "Jacob, my son." When he was liberated 5.5 years later, he weighed 60 pounds, was lying on top of dead bodies, and was picked out by American soldiers because they saw him move. He had nearly died several times before that. 3 times came during roll call at Hirschberg. When the soldiers ordered hats down, prisoners had to take off their hats in unison. Whoever was too slow or too fast was shot. One Sunday, Wiseman thought it was his hat that slapped late. The soldier motioned and he stepped forward, but the soldier said, "Nein, die anden der," which means no, the other. At other roll calls, the soldiers shot every 20th person. One time, Wiseman was number 18. Another time, he was number 21. At another camp, he was ordered to dig his own grave. He did, but before he was shot, his work foreman intervened. When ordered to the Buchenwald gas chambers in a group of 25, Wiseman and a friend lagged behind. When they were out of the perimeter and of the observation tower spotlight, they hit the ground and crawled to safety. Sally and Morris Wolfe of West Des Moines kept their past from their children as long as they could. She lost her entire family. He lost everyone, including his first wife and a child, except for one brother. They didn't tell the children until the children started to ask why they didn't have grandparents. Even as adults, son Abe says he and his 2 brothers have heard little about the war. He finds the scenes from Bosnia eerie. They look like Nazi concentration camps to him, but he does not worry about his parents seeing them. Obviously, they are survivors, he says. They are the strongest people in the world.